Welcome back to Mae Sot, Thailand. It is Monday, November 23rd, about 8:30 in the morning, and I'm wearing my one and only button-down shirt because it's time to go back to immigration. I have no idea where all the time went. It feels like I was just at immigration last week, but the time I was given has reached its end. My current extension of stay takes me until November 30th, and I have to arrange something to stay longer here in Thailand. It should be quite an interesting experience because I have no idea what's going to happen. According to all the official news and the rumors, and even on my last visit to the immigration office, I was told about a new 60-day tourist visa that will be available to me when my current extension of stay expires. But I don't know for sure that it exists or that I will qualify for it. So it's a little bit of a adventure heading out there today. We'll see what happens. The last time I was out at immigration, the whole process involved getting a letter from the Canadian embassy. Foreigners like me on a tourist visa had to supply a letter from their embassy in order to get an extension of stay. At least that's what the rules were. At the last minute, they changed the rules and nobody actually needed this letter, but I went through the process and I got one last time. And when they told me about this new 60-day visa, this tourist visa, it's a brand new visa they created for just this situation. They said that a letter from your embassy is not required for this extension. All you needed to do was fill out a simple form. They call it an affidavit. And yet, when you fill out the affidavit, it has a bunch of check boxes, and you have to check one of the items as part of your affidavit. And they told me that the box I check is the one that says the embassy will not supply this letter. And that really confused me because they said, you don't need a letter. For this visa, a letter is not required. But then I have to fill out a form and tick a box that says, I'm applying for this visa because my embassy won't give me a letter. So they're like opposite statements, what I was told and the form I have to fill out. I don't think it'll end up mattering in the end. At least that is my hope. Yeah, we'll see. I was going to rent a bicycle to go out there today. I thought that would make it a little bit more of an interesting day. But the place that I know about that rents a bicycle isn't open yet, and I'm not really sure when they're going to open. So I'm walking towards a little spot I know here where they have guys hang out that like motorcycle taxi guys. So I'm going to get one of those to take me out to immigration if possible. So I use the power of Google Maps to indicate where I want to go. And here's my driver right here, and we're off to immigration. Once again, on my motorcycle taxi out to immigration. These days with my new phone, I'm all about voice activation, and it turns out there's a little button you can click on Google Maps, and the phone will speak the name of the place where you want to go, and that's what I did this time, and it worked out okay. We made it. It's my driver behind me heading back. It cost 80 baht for the drive out here. And there was some confusion along the way because I used the Google Maps name and address for the TAC immigration office. And he thought I meant some kind of an office that gives people temporary border passes to go back and forth across the border. But we sorted that out, and I'm right here back at the Friendship Bridge, the very sad Friendship Bridge. I call it sad because it's closed and nobody is going back and forth between Thailand and Myanmar. This normally very busy spot is kind of a ghost town. I wouldn't normally go to an immigration office on a Monday. Monday mornings I find tend to be quite busy. I'm surrounded by fuzzy cuteness. Hey, you want to say hello? Oh, look at you. Now this is certainly a sign. Good luck for the day, right? Are you bringing me good luck for my... Oh, look at this butterball. He's a little... This guy's jealous, aren't you? So, look at that. Hello. Yes. You're a cutie pie. Yes, you are. Okay, I'll see you. Stay. I was saying that I wouldn't normally go on a Monday morning because people sort of plan to go to these places on Monday. It's the weekend and think, oh, I'll do it on Monday. But there was a big holiday weekend, so last Thursday and Friday were holidays here. I originally planned to go at the end of last week, but I was surprised once again by a holiday that I didn't know was coming. I really should pay more attention to the calendar. So here I am on a Monday, and I hope things will work out because this office usually isn't very busy. Fingers crossed, and with that puppy dash of good luck, maybe I can manifest my new 60-day visa from the universe. Thinking positive thoughts right now as I head in. Here's the immigration office to my left. A funny thing occurred to me is that in normal times, you know what you're doing when you go to immigration. So it's sort of like, you know, going into a restaurant. You know what's on the menu and you order something. You go into McDonald's and you say, I would like the vanilla milkshake because it's listed there. And normally you know what you're asking for. Each country has rules about the tourist visa, how long it is, a tourist visa extension, how many times you can extend it. But of course, with what's going on right now, all the rules are changing all the time. So I'm going into immigration, but I don't even know what to ask for. I'll sit down and say, what do you got? Like, what can you do for me? Is there a 60-day tourist visa, or is it only an extension of stay on my last? Who knows? They'll have to tell me once I go in there and sit down. So I'm gonna turn off the GoPro as I head into this world of officialdom, and I'll check back in when I come out. Oh, one thing though is I'm accustomed to normally doing things in one day. Like when you go in to get a visa extension in the Philippines, or even in normal times here, you go in, they process it, you might wait an hour or two, and then you walk out, you have it. But it seems like here in Thailand, they do this two-stage process. So I'll be applying today, then I'll probably get an under consideration stamp in my passport that tells me my application is being considered, and then I have to return in 2 weeks to get the actual stamp. I'm hoping I get everything done in one day. I really want to just go in, get the 60-day visa, pay for it, of course, and then leave. But I think I'm going to have to come back a second time and wait 2 weeks until it's ready. We'll find out. Well, that was an experience, as always. To jump to the end of the story, I don't really know, but I feel positive because I did get the under consideration stamp. So technically, I don't know what is going to happen. Even if they approve my application, I don't know what I'm going to get. I tried to ask a bunch of questions such as, is this the new 60-day tourist visa that I'm applying for? Or exactly what is this? But nobody really paid any attention to me, or nobody could really answer that question. They just kept putting pieces of paper in front of me for me to sign, and I kept signing them, and I just followed the system. The thing is that for this new tourist visa, I kind of assumed it was a brand new procedure because it is a new visa that has been created specifically for foreign tourists like me who are here on an expired visa and then after that on amnesty. And this new 60-day tourist visa is supposed to get all of us back into the legal, normal flow of visas. So it's sort of like we're starting all over again from zero. Technically, this would be my first official visa for Thailand, a 60-day visa, and then it may or may not be extendable. I haven't been able to find that out. So I thought there would be a new form to fill out, some new procedure, something that looked different, but they just put the regular TM7 form in front of me, which is always fun to fill out. And this is an extension of stay form, which is the old form that I filled out a million times. There's nothing new about it. There is a little, slot down at the bottom that says, how many days are you applying for? And I wrote down 60 because it's my understanding that I'm applying for a 60-day tourist visa. But as I said, I asked that question multiple times from different people and I never got an answer. There just didn't seem to be an answer that could be provided. So I filled out all the forms, all the regular forms. I wrote down 60 days. I gave them the affidavit, and I mentioned beforehand that I was concerned about what box to check on the affidavit because what they told me was for this new 60-day visa, you don't need an embassy letter. All you need to do is fill out this form. So they gave me the form, but I have to tick a box, and one of them is there are no flights available, which I can't tick that box because that's not true. The embassy will not give you a letter. Ticking that box technically is not true because they told me I didn't even need a letter, so I didn't bother applying for one. And the other one was I can't go to my home country because of the pandemic and the border is closed. That's not true either. So none of the options they gave me are technically true. So as I was filling out that form, I showed them the empty boxes because I hadn't ticked one, and I asked them, which one do you want me to tick to get this process moving? Which one? And they just sort of waved me away and said, don't bother. So I handed in the form, an official affidavit, and yet I didn't actually state any particular official reason for this affidavit. I didn't tick any of the boxes. I just left it up to them. And there was another form I had to fill out. I forget it's a very standard form. And one of the lines in there is, I am applying for this extension of stay for the following reason. And you have to fill in a reason. And again, I'm staring at that line. I don't know what the reason is. Technically, I'm still a tourist. So I would normally, for any visa extension, I write down tourism. That's my reason. But that's not really why I'm here at the moment. I'm here at the moment because of the pandemic and all those sorts of things. So what do I write down in that blank? So again, I turned to them and showed them the empty space to show them I hadn't filled it out. Like, what do I write down here? Do you know what I should put down? And they just waved it away and said, they didn't say anything. They just sort of waved it away, took the form, and I never had to fill out that space. Or maybe they filled it out for me. I don't really know. I did get an under consideration stamp, so I have to come back. But the good news is I have to come back on November 30th, which is 7 days from now. Normally it's 15 days, about 2 weeks, but for this, it's only 7 days, so that's good. And they handed me back my passport with the under consideration stamp saying return on November 30th. And of course, I wanted to ask them, so when I return, what is going to happen? Am I returning that maybe I will get a 60-day visa? Or am I just getting a regular 30-day extension of stay? Do you have any idea what I just applied for and what I may or may not get? And the woman was very friendly and very nice, but she basically just smiled at me and told me to come back on November 30th. So I could not get an answer to that question. And then I posed the most deadly question for any foreigner overseas ever, the hypothetical. I'm full of hypotheticals because I'm always considering options in the future, but hypotheticals never get you anywhere. But I thought I would give it a try, and I said, okay, if I come back on November 30th, and if I get a 60-day tourist visa, this new tourist visa I've been hearing about, if I get that, will that visa be extendable beyond the 60 days? Is it an actual extendable tourist visa? That was my hypothetical, and she smiled at me and said something. I didn't understand her, and I asked again, and she said, wait government, wait government. So apparently there's no answer to that question. So at this point, all I know is I have to come back on November 30th, and my application is being processed, but what I applied for, I have no idea. What I will get on November 30th, I have no idea. And if what I get is extendable, I also have no idea. So it's going to be another surprise on November 30th. But I'm not complaining. Puppy power, the puppy power of good luck worked for me. And all of my paperwork sailed through, everything. They didn't question anything. And I did get an under consideration stamp to come back in 7 days. So that's 3 pieces of good luck. I'll take it. You know, I'm not complaining. I'll take it. So puppy power worked for me today. And the puppies are just ahead of me. So maybe I'll go thank one of them. All the puppies have been properly petted and scratched under the chin to thank them for their puppy power of good luck. So now what to do? First stop, I think, is going to be 7-Eleven up ahead. I just need a cold drink to celebrate. Celebrate what? I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. Nothing bad happened, so that is something to celebrate. And something good probably will happen. I don't know what that will be, but we'll find out in 7 days. Just occurs to me, I don't know what day of the week November 30th is. Is that a weekday? I better check. Another piece of small good luck. November 30th is a Monday. So at least the immigration office will be open. Because in the past, I've seen people who get a under consideration return date that turns out to be a weekend, and then they're not sure what to do. Should I come before that date? Should I come after that date? And they end up having to ask a series of questions. But November 30th is a Monday. Here's 7-Eleven. Pop in for a cold drink and then see what happens after that. I got a cold and tasty and delicious bottle of milk, which, for those who know me, is my favorite drink in the whole world. I am a milk guy. I know milk is not that popular a drink in Asia in general, I don't think. Not as popular as in Canada, for example, but I feel like I grew up on milk, and I find it quite refreshing. Oh, yeah, I had such every time I go into an office, something different happens, something unusual, and it's usually something I bring into the office with me, something to do with me, my own personal awkwardness, for example. In this case, it was a combination. because I do get a little bit flustered when I get into those situations, mainly because I like to know things. I like to understand what is going on. I don't like to give up control. But in these, official government offices, it's difficult to understand what is happening. You basically enter a system and they tell you what to do at each stage. That's just how things work. And if what they're asking of you doesn't make any sense, there isn't much you can do about it. You can't understand why this, why that. You don't understand the system or the process, what you're supposed to do. I guess that's kind of the heart of it. I absolutely hate doing the wrong thing in any situation. I've always been that way. I like to do the right thing. So in a classroom, I behave well back in grade school and high school. I don't cause trouble. I'd like to follow the instructions and do what is expected of me. I don't like to cause trouble. I'd like to follow the system. I don't like to break the rules. I'm not a rule breaker. So I go into one of these offices desperately wanting to do what is right and what is proper and do the right things. But then I get into those situations and I can't figure out what the right thing is half the time. So you kind of give up control, I guess is what I'm saying. Oh, that's so good. And that is hard for me to do. So I'm filling out these forms and quite often I don't know what to fill out, which bothers me. And what I usually do is like I'm like a squirrel with a nut. They give me these forms and then I like to gather them up and then bustle away to somewhere private and quiet so I can sit down and relax and in comfort, read through them all, figure out what I need to do, and then slowly and deliberately fill everything out. But this office doesn't work that way because there's nowhere to go to sit down and fill anything out. There's no table or chairs where you can sit down. They basically put the forms on the counter and then they expect me to just start filling them out right in front of them. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit because I feel like they're waiting for me and I want to go faster because I don't want to keep them waiting. On my own, I'll take an hour to fill out the forms because my time is not valuable. But now I'm at the counter right in front of them, I feel this pressure to do it faster. So I start making mistakes. And I make mistakes because the forms often don't make any sense. This TM7 is quite an amusing form. I make the same mistake over and over again. And even though I know it's there, I still make the same mistake. When you write down the date, for example, it says date, and then it gives you a couple of blank spaces, and you start filling out day, month, year, and then you get down to the next line, and then suddenly it says month with a space. It's like, oh. So somehow those first two lines were for the day or the year. I still can't figure it out. And the next line, you go down one line, that's where you put the month. But I always put the month in the wrong place first, and then I got to scratch it out, put it down in the right place. So that always happens. And while I was filling out the form, then they brought back all of the other pieces of paper I had already handed them. What happens is you give them this giant stack of photocopies of your passport, your departure card, all receipt from my hotel. Very important. I remembered to bring it this time. That receipt from the hotel has always been an issue because the first time I came here, I didn't realize they needed a receipt from the hotel. So I didn't have one. I had to go all the way back into town. My hotel didn't issue receipts, so I had to figure out how to get one, come all the way back. Second time, I knew I had to bring a receipt, but there was confusion at my guest house and they wouldn't give me one. They thought it was a more official request than it was, and they would not give me one. So I came into immigration without a receipt thinking, maybe I can get away with it. But no, they insisted on one, and immigration had to telephone my hotel and explain to them why I needed this receipt and could they please give one to me. So I had to go back all the way into Mae Sot again, deal with my guest house, get the receipt, which was a very complex situation, and then come all the way back. This time, I still had the old receipt And what I did was white out the dates on it, photocopy it to get a new fresh copy and write in new dates for today. And they didn't even look at the receipt. They just sort of glanced at it. Okay, you have it. So I had all the pieces of paper I was supposed to have, but they take all those pieces of paper and they take this big stamp and they put this big stamp on the bottom of each page, and you're supposed to sign inside each square of that stamp. And this is where one of my personal quirks comes into play again, because my hand just doesn't work anymore. Even when I was a kid, I had a terrible time writing. I can't write. I can't manipulate my fingers to write, which is why I became such a good typist, because I cannot write. And it has gotten worse over the years. So I find I have one good signature in me. If I go into a bank and I need to sign one time, I can kind of control my fingers and I can write one signature and I'm done. Ask for two and I can kind of get it done. If I have to sign 6 or 7 times in a row, by the time I get to the last one, like literally my fingers won't move. I can't make them form letters. It's the weirdest thing. And it gets worse under pressure. So this guy is staring at me and I'm trying to fill out all the forms and it gets worse and worse. And my signature, by the time I get to the last one, looks nothing like the first one, because my first one has all nice loopy letters and my last one really is just a line. That's all it is. But yeah, I can't sign things anymore. So anyway, that's a weird thing with me. And to make it even more complicated, they had an intern. So instead of the usual women that I normally deal with there was a young guy, a young man behind the desk, and he looked scared. He was clearly brand new and figuring things out. He's there training, but he was the one I had to deal with. So he was the one giving me the forms, but all the women were telling him what to do at every stage. Okay, now give him this form. Now give him this one. Now ask him to do this. So there was that confusion going on. But this guy was so helpful. He kept telling me what to write down. So like on the form, I got to my passport number and I'm about to write down my passport number, but then he starts reading it off my passport for me. He's trying to help me. So now he's saying, BL9, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So I ended up writing my passport number wrong because I got confused based on the things he was telling me. And at every stage now, he was telling me what to write down, and then I would get confused and mixed up, and then I started writing incorrect things all over the place. So that was another comedy of errors. A lot of scratching out and rewriting, and that's not good for a government form. So I thought there'd be trouble. By the time I finished, half my forms had chicken scratches and incomplete signatures. Another half had things I didn't even fill out. I didn't check the boxes and I didn't fill in the lines. And the remaining half, we got 3 halves going on here. The third half of forms, I had scratched things out and then rewritten. So, as far as I was concerned, if I were a bureaucrat, I would have taken that bundle of papers and thrown them away and said, listen, buddy, just do them over, do them properly. But it just went through the system. It goes to one woman, the whole stack gets stapled together. They get on a computer, do a bunch of stuff. It goes to another woman. She gets on her computer, does a bunch of stuff. A bunch of new papers come out of various drawers. A whole bunch of stamping goes on. Then they call me over to sit down in front of the counter, and they have a little webcam there so that you have to remove your mask, and they take your picture. That goes into your computer file. Then you go back and sit down. And then they keep producing new forms. After my picture was taken, a form was printed out with my picture on it, and I had to sign that form. So they knew my name, Douglas, and they said, Douglas. So I come, they hand me that form, I fill it out, I sit down again. A few minutes later, Douglas, I come back and it's a form you have to fill out that says, you know, there are penalties for overstaying. And for whatever reason, they require all foreigners to sign this form. I acknowledge that if I overstay my visa, there will be severe penalties and I'm not allowed to work or engage in illegal activities while I'm in the Kingdom of Thailand. I have to acknowledge this and sign that. So I go away and I sit down and I'm waiting, and then it's like, Douglas, I come back and it was another form I had to fill out. I forget what this one was. And at every stage, I'm sitting at the edge of my seat waiting for the inevitable, oh, there's a problem. There's an issue. There's a mistake. And it never happened. All these things that I did, signing, filling out, signing, stamping, filling out, picture taken, just went through the procedure, and then I was called over to get my passport, and then it said, come back on November 30th and find out what you get. It's like a, it's kind of like a secret Santa. You have no idea what you're going to get. November 30th, I'll show up and I'll give them my passport, and then they will stamp it, hand it back to me. Could be nothing. They could say, no, you can't stay in Thailand, out you go. They could say, here's a 30-day extension of stay. They could say, here's a 60-day tourist visa. No idea. So November 30th should be another exciting day in the life of Doug. And I think this is my new motorcycle driver. Well, I would call that a very successful morning. It's not even 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already done with my visit to immigration. The TAC immigration office and the people that work there, it's one of the good reasons, or one of the benefits, I should say, of being in Mae Sot. Such a friendly place. It's very well run, and it's never very busy. So it's very nice to be here and be able to go to such a nice, accessible and professional immigration office. All that being said, I do find it kind of amusing that I have such trouble just sort of navigating the system sometimes. And that isn't really their fault. It's just the unusual times that we're living in. As I said at the beginning, I went to immigration this morning without any clear idea of what I can even get in terms of a visa or extension of stay. It's kind of like going to a restaurant that just has a big blank space where the menu is. So you go in as a customer and you're just trying to guess what you can get there. You go up to the counter and say, yeah, I'd like a pepperoni pizza. And they say, oh, no, we don't have pepperoni pizza. And so then, well, pad Thai would be good. No, we don't make Thai food either. So you just sort of keep guessing what they may be able to make in the kitchen, and then eventually you stumble across some item that they do make. And that's how it is right now with visas. I went there, as I said, and I walked into the office, and then I walked up to the counter, and I had to verbally communicate what I wanted. I couldn't just pick from a menu of options or just go to the right window or go get the right form or something like that to initiate the process. I actually had to tell them what I wanted, but I don't even know what is possible. So I did go in and I said, I would like to apply for the new fancy special 60-day tourist visa. Have you heard about this? Does it exist? And after that, the process began, and then they handed me a form for the extension of stay. And that may or may not be the right form for what I wanted to do. I really have no idea. And again, that gets back to my trouble with giving up control. I like to understand systems and what's happening. But in this case, all I could do was fill out the forms they gave me and cross my fingers and hope for the best. And November 30th, we'll find out what puppy power will get me. Fuzzy cuteness. Hey, you want to say hello? Oh, look at you. Now this is certainly a sign. Good luck for the day, right? Are you bringing me good luck for my... Oh, look at this butterball. He's a little... This guy's jealous. Aren't you? So, look at that. Hello. Yes. You're a cutie pie. Yes, you are. Okay, I'll see you. Stay.